The Humanities Design Lab, founded in 2011 inside the design department of the Polytechnic di Milano, explore experiences of interdisciplinarity with the aim of understanding different approaches and improving concrete form of exchange. This presentation will focus on the result of the first year of activity of the lab, focalizing on 3 levels. A short introduction on the labs as a transdisciplinary lab driven by design research. Second, the presentation of the results of the grounding research. And then a concluding part with open questions as new challenges for the Humanities and Design Lab forthcoming research and activities. The aim of the work is to stress 2 specific concepts: transdisciplinarity and experimentation as fundamental challenges for designer and the design community. These 2 words represent also the distinctive approach that characterized the lab. The Humanities Design Lab founds its theoretical basis on the concept of a third culture, as defined firstly by Snow in 1959, then by Brockman in 1995, and more recently by Citon in 2010. At the same time, it anchors its research to the Polytechnic school that considers the humanities in practice as valuable contribution to the open-ended system of design. Thus, the lab represents the context in which to experiment a fully human and humanistic design culture. That means a form of research where design is intended as third culture. In other words, a mediator between hard sciences and technologies and humanistic studies. The last joined the inventive spirit of the art with the rigorous spirit of the scientific method. Starting from this assumption, the lab organized a series of activities in the period between 2012 and 2013. Among them, 4 explorative and thematic seminars, relational artifacts, design and semiotics, design and narration, the study of foreseeing, and the 3 days international conference Diversity, Design, Humanities held in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, with more than 18 papers. Introducing the second part of the presentation, we can say that the grounding research was a fundamental moment for the lab. In fact, it was necessary to develop an overview of the ongoing theoretical and practical research at an international level. The starting point was the creation of a virtual network for the lab. The work was firstly devoted to the collection of emblematic case studies. In a second moment, the data collected were inserted in a map as a tool for describing and visualizing the relationship analyzed and for shaping possible models of cooperation between design and the disciplines that study the human complexity. The qualitative research was thus inserted into permanent descriptive dimensions. The process implied a desk research to find interesting case studies, both inside and outside our research community. We gathered more than 200 examples and classified them into 3 categories. From this observation, an interpretative dualism emerged. In this figure, we have shown on a horizontal axis the polarity humanities-driven or design-driven, which means theoretical and practical researches developed in both humanistic or design context. We then interpret these 2 approaches, interviewing them with a disciplinary and methodological issue developed on the vertical axis through the true extreme of reflective practices or theoretical thinking and of applied practices or analytical and generative tools. Within the summary that we have represented with a 4-quadrant map, 4 descriptive dimensions emerged as a synthesis of the case study analyzed. They are humanistic design, humanistic methods for the project, designerly practices for the humanities, designing humanities. Let's see some examples to understand better the meaning of the 4 quadrants. The first quadrant, the one of humanistic design. The question could be, how much humanity is there in a design project? Many themes and issues typical of the humanistic research are now central also for design culture. Dune and Rabi, both professors at the Royal College of Arts in London, designed a new scenario of transformation of the human body with technological devices as a possible answer to the problem of overpopulation and lack of food. Their research is included in a design approach called critical design, that could be a possible way of humanistic design. The second quadrant, the one of humanistic methods for the project. Again, the question could be, is it possible to use methods typical of the humanities and social sciences in the design practice? Humanities can offer analytical and generative tools to design culture. For example, Liz Sanders, founder of the design company Make Tools, theorized the systematic use of ethnographic research in productive realities through processes of co-creation. Sanders' research deals with the design approach called user-centered design. This approach could testify how methods of the humanities can be used in design context. The third quadrant is the one of designerly practices for the humanities. Humanities and social sciences can be designed. They can adopt analytical and generative tools of the design culture. In this context, they demonstrate specific reference to creative communication and design fields. The experience of the Density Design Lab is a good example. Together with the most popular Italian newspaper, they developed an advanced approach to data journalism. This work is typical of the digital humanities, a very complex system of knowledge that has acquired a great importance at international level. Digital humanities uses design tools to generate information and knowledge. Finally, the fourth quadrant is the one of designing humanities. Again, the question could be, how much design is there in a humanistic discipline? The humanities and social sciences can assume an operative role in 2 different ways. Designing themselves, let's say creating more or less explicit links to design themes and approaches, or from the other side, contributing during all phases of the design projects, from meta-design to prototyping, through analytical approaches, knowledge, capacity of building knowledge. The journal Fisher theory, for example, proposes a theoretical cross-cultural approach that studies the fashion system as a particular field of the material culture. Another example could be the Cube Research Center of the University of Bologna that proposed an applied dimension of the ethnosemiotics, creating hybrid methodologies that focus on the concept of observation of daily practices and on the semiotic analysis of the sense-forming processes. For concluding, we can say that the aim of the lab is to develop a new form of integration and collaboration between humanities and design. So we introduce another possible reading of the phenomenon, the levels of disciplinary relationship. At the first linear or univocal model typical of the above-mentioned examples and represented by the dualism, humanities on for design and design on for humanities, we add a non-linear model describing a cyclical dimension between design and humanities, that is, design with humanities. We are thus interested in describing a model of cross-fertilization with a particular stress on the design-driven opportunities which means the hybridization of themes, approaches and tools that become integrated. In this timeline, there are examples of the design with humanities model, mainly developed in the last decade at an international level. 3 possible examples could be the book by Jorge Frascara, Design and Social Sciences Making Connection, with case studies of applied research where social sciences can be considered tools for generating new scenarios of innovation in productive realities, or the journal Design and Culture, that introduce from a theoretical point of view a new way to analyze and interpret the design culture. Finally, another example could be the Crucible Network, which gathers researchers from different fields to develop projectual teams. As represented by the map, we described possible ways within the broad panorama of research and initiatives that deal with the theme design and humanities. On the other hand, as described in the lab's activities, we have been mostly focused on the theoretical dimension of the relationship. We have found transdisciplinary themes and create an occasion, the seminars and the conference, of exchange and debate. Our further work will be focused on the applied dimension of the relationship. So we will try to verify possible interaction from a generative point of view. Thank you very much.